Hold up. Y'all are not prepared for what just went down at Chiefs practice. Patrick Mahomes stood there with his hands on his head, looking exasperated. And what I'm about to reveal is going to shatter everything you think you know about this offense. Stay glued till the end, smash that like button, drop a W if you still have faith in the Chiefs, or an L if you're losing hope. And make sure you hit that subscribe button because this is next level. Listen closely. What I witnessed at Kansas City Chiefs practice might mark the rise or the fall of this dynasty. I'm not playing around today. Picture this. Patrick Mahomes, the face of this franchise, hands on his head, looking more than frustrated. He was witnessing the same exact problems that nearly derailed them last season. And if they don't rectify it now, we might be staring at the end of an era. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to expose is the real reason the Chiefs struggled more than most people want to acknowledge. You think winning back-to-back Super Bowls means everything's flawless? You think Patrick Mahomes can just wave a magic wand and fix everything? Wrong, dead wrong. And that practice session proved everything I've been saying all along. Here's what really unfolded out there. And pay attention, because the mainstream media isn't going to give you the raw truth. Mahomes was launching deep balls, absolute dimes, spirals carving through the Kansas City sky. And what happened? Drops. Not once, but repeatedly. Rookie Jalen Royals had a golden opportunity to make his mark, to prove he belonged in that Chiefs uniform. And what did he do? He let it slip through his fingers. And there's Mahomes, hands on his head, because he knows that if they can't sort out this deep ball fiasco, all those championship aspirations will morph into nightmares real fast. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. This is where you have to understand the chess match being played. Matt Nagy, the offensive coordinator, is out there saying, talk is cheap. You have to produce in practice. You know what that tells me? That tells me they know they've got issues. They know last season wasn't quite as solid as it looked, and they're scrambling to patch it up before it's too late. Let me hit you with some numbers that'll make your head spin. The Kansas City Chiefs ranked next to last in the entire NFL in pass completions that traveled more than 20 yards downfield. Next to last. We're talking about a team with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and supposedly elite receivers, and they couldn't connect on deep passes better than teams with backup quarterbacks and practice squad receivers. 47 attempts all season on passes over 20 yards. That's pathetic. That averages to less than 3 deep attempts per game. 3. I've seen high school squads air it out more aggressively than that. And get this, only 12 completions. 12. That's less than 1 deep pass every other game. How in the world are you supposed to keep defenses honest when you're not even threatening them vertically? But wait, it gets even worse. They had just 42 pass plays of 20 yards or more all season. That's counting everything, runs after catch, screens, the whole lot. Defenses were literally daring them to throw deep because they knew the Chiefs couldn't or wouldn't consistently. And you wonder why the offense felt different. You wonder why Mahomes looked so frustrated at times. This is why. Sure, injuries played a role. Rashee Rice got hurt. Hollywood Brown couldn't stay healthy. But you know what separates championship teams from pretenders? Depth, preparation, the ability to adapt when things go sideways. What I saw in that practice session tells me they're still wrestling with the same core issues that haunted them last season. Xavier Worthy, now there's a name that should be giving defensive coordinators nightmares. This kid clocked a 4.21 40-yard dash at the combine, the fastest ever. And yet, you've got a weapon like that and you're not using him to stretch the field? That's coaching malpractice. Worthy only snagged 3 passes that traveled over 20 yards in the air last season. 3! You draft a first-round speedster and he's averaging 10.8 yards per catch. That's not maximizing talent. That's wasting it. Credit where it's due. Worthy did get better as the season progressed. Started slow, 20 catches in 9 games. Then exploded for 39 in the final 8. And let's not forget his playoff performance. 19 catches in 3 games, including that monster Super Bowl. 8 catches, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the player they drafted, and that's the player they need to unleash if they want to defend their championship. Now let's talk offensive line. That's a whole different can of worms. They rotated through 4 starting left tackles last season. 4, you can't protect your franchise quarterback while playing musical chairs at the most critical position on the line. That's why Mahomes developed happy feet. That's why he lost trust in his protection. And that's why the deep ball evaporated from their offense. Josh Simmons in the first round, Jalen Moore in free agency. They're trying to fix it. But let's be clear. Rebuilding an offensive line isn't like ordering takeout. It takes time, chemistry, and communication. These guys need to move like a well-oiled machine, not a patchwork experiment. Hold up. You all aren't remotely prepared for what just unfolded at orientation. And until this situation evolves, we're going to witness more of what we saw in practice. Picture-perfect throws that simply aren't getting caught. Why? Because the timing is off. The protection is shaky, or the receivers are failing to hit their marks. Andy Reid and Matt Nagy are pushing Mahomes to air it out more, and that's the mark of true champions, identifying weaknesses and attacking them head-on. But let's get real. Pushing and executing are 2 entirely different beasts. Reid's been around long enough to understand that you can design the most sophisticated game plan imaginable, but if your players can't execute when the pressure's on, when the lights are at their brightest, then all that strategizing doesn't amount to a hill of beans. What worries me most is the mindset. Nagy preaches about having an attack mentality and cutting it loose. But what happens when the bullets start flying, when the playoffs arrive, and every possession counts? Are they going to stick to that aggressive approach, or will they revert to the safe, underneath checkdowns that got them in trouble before? Let me tell you something. Championship teams in this league punish you at all 3 levels. And if you can't threaten vertically, you're making life far too easy for defensive coordinators. Now, let me explain what really has me concerned, and this is where things get especially interesting. What happened in that practice wasn't just about dropped passes or misconnections. It's about trust. And trust, my friends, is the bedrock of every championship team this league has ever seen. When Patrick Mahomes stands there, hands on his head after a dropped pass, that's not just frustration you're witnessing. That's a man questioning whether he can count on the people around him when everything's on the line. Think about it this way. Mahomes has been spoiled for years with reliable targets. Travis Kelce running flawless routes and finding separation at the biggest moments. Tyreek Hill taking the top off defenses and making miraculous catches look routine. But now he's dealing with a completely new supporting cast, and that practice session revealed that the chemistry just isn't there yet. And chemistry, let me remind you, is not something you can manufacture overnight. Hollywood Brown is supposed to be the savior of their deep passing game, but here's what everyone's conveniently forgetting. The guy hasn't played meaningful snaps in months. You think he's just going to waltz onto the field and instantly have that telepathic connection with Mahomes that takes years to develop? That's fantasy football talk, not reality. It takes hundreds of reps, thousands of throws, countless hours of film study together to get that timing down to surgical precision. Right now, they're starting from scratch. Rashee Rice is another story altogether. The kid showed flashes of brilliance before his injury, but coming back from injury isn't just about physical healing, it's mental too. When you've been on the sidelines while your team makes a championship run, there's always that nagging question. Can I pick up where I left off? Rice has the talent, no question. But talent without timing? That's just potential waiting to be wasted. And let's talk about what this means for the division and the entire conference. The AFC West isn't getting any easier. The Broncos have a young quarterback growing more confident every week. The Chargers boast Justin Herbert, who can sling it with the best. And the Raiders? They're always dangerous when they've got nothing to lose. If the Chiefs can't establish that deep ball threat early, these division rivals are going to smell blood in the water and pounce. Here's where it gets really complex. And this is something most people don't truly understand about elite offensive football. The deep ball isn't just about having burners at receiver and a quarterback with a cannon arm. It's about selling the defense on your willingness to throw it. Defensive coordinators study every snap, every tendency, every down and distance scenario. If they see that you only throw deep once in a blue moon, they're going to stack the box, play aggressive underneath, and dare you to beat them over the top. That's exactly what happened to the Chiefs last season, and it's why their entire offense felt different. Teams didn't respect their ability to punish them vertically, so they could focus all their energy on neutralizing the short and intermediate stuff. Travis Kelce still had a stellar season, but he was facing double teams and bracket coverage far more often because defenses knew they didn't have to worry about getting torched deep. Xavier Worthy's development is absolutely critical to this whole equation. What we saw in his progression last season gives me both hope and concern. The hope comes from seeing him get better as the year went on, especially that masterful Super Bowl performance, proving he's got that clutch gene that separates the good from the great. But the concern? Consistency. Can he be that reliable deep threat every single week? See you next video.